Hey ladies and gentlemen, Middle Guy back again today, and today I want to watch this video and react to it. It's from Thomas Sowell. If you don't know who Thomas Sowell is, you definitely need to look him up. This man is a legend. He's a national treasure. He's written many books. All his books are great. Basic Economics is the best. Everybody should read that book. He just is based in common sense and facts and statistics when making conclusions on things. And he does a shit ton of research to back up everything that he says. Or he does a shit ton of research before he makes any statements or claims because he backs them up with facts and statistics. So let's get into this right here from Mr. Sowell.
Economic disparities between black and white Americans have long been a subject of intense debate. Public discourse often centers on the historical injustices, slavery, segregation, and discrimination that black Americans have endured.
Now, see, my reaction to that part right there is black people owned slaves as well. And if that was true and it held back black people, how do we have so many famous and wealthy black people today?
Factors certainly played a significant role in shaping the economic conditions black Americans face today. The complete narrative must also consider the internal factors, the importance of family structure, culture, education, and personal responsibility.
That's huge right there. Family structure, culture, education, and personal responsibility. Especially nowadays, it seems like no one wants to have any personal responsibility whatsoever at all for anything that they've done. It's always someone else or something else's fault. It's never because of their poor decisions.
To understand why black Americans, as a group, are poorer than white Americans, we must explore both the external barriers they have faced and the choices they have made.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about choices. They always want to start the story in the middle. They never want to talk about how they got to where they're at and what choices they made got them there. Same thing goes with the homeless population. Same exact fucking thing. What choices have you made to get you there? Let's not start the story in the middle when you're homeless. How did you get there? It's the same thing that Mr. Sowell's speaking of here.
Historical injustices undoubtedly have consequences, but history alone is not destiny. The economic differences between black and white Americans are shaped not just by their historical past, but by the responses to the opportunities and limitations each group has encountered in their journey through American society.
Absolutely.
The key question is, what can we learn from this history, and how can black communities, empowered by the lessons of the past, create a better economic future? Past history. Slavery and segregation undoubtedly hindered the economic advancement of black America.
It absolutely did. I agree with that 100%. For some black people. Because again, black people owned slaves. There was wealthy black people in America that owned slaves during slavery.
But it is essential to recognize that these barriers were not insurmountable. Throughout history, numerous groups have overcome extraordinary obstacles to succeed economically.
Exactly, but everybody wants to ignore that fact, which I don't understand at all. Instead of trying to uplift people and tell them, no, look, all these other people have been able to do it, so you should be able to do it too. They want to hand them victim cards like they're candy on Halloween. It's disgusting, honestly. You're not doing anybody a favor by helping them become a victim. It's the same thing with telling fat people that they're healthy. No, you're not. If you can look down and you can't see your feet, you're not fucking healthy. I'm sorry, you're just not healthy. I don't give a fuck what any moron tells you. That's not healthy.
Often under worse conditions. Jews, Irish, Italians, and Asians were all subject to significant discrimination, but
yeah, nobody ever wants to talk about that. I'm Italian and Irish, and the way especially the Italians, when they were treated when they first came over here, good Lord. Yet they're fine. You don't hear any of them complaining. I don't. I've never heard complaints. You just worked your ass off and did what you could do to advance yourself. You didn't worry about it, the people holding you back. You were too busy worried about yourself and being successful and getting to where you wanted to be. You didn't sit around and drown in your own piss.
Over time, each group managed to overcome systemic obstacles and achieve success.
Exactly.
Consider the case of Jewish immigrants in the early 20th century. They arrived in America impoverished, often fleeing pogroms or persecution in Europe. Despite facing widespread discrimination and exclusion from many opportunities, Jewish families were able to accumulate wealth over time through a strong culture of education, entrepreneurship, and family stability.
Same thing with the Chinese. Same exact thing. I don't hear any of them crying about being held back or held down or racism or anything. Why not? Because they don't give a fuck. They're just going to go keep continuing doing what they're doing so they can reach their goals.
Likewise, Asian Americans, despite facing exclusionary immigration laws and social hostility, have by and large demonstrated remarkable economic mobility through an emphasis on family, education, and perseverance.
Exactly.
Black Americans did not arrive in the United States as voluntary immigrants. Their journey began in chains, and the history of slavery left a significant scar.
Which is very true.
Yet, even amidst the brutality of slavery, black people managed to create and sustain vibrant cultural institutions like churches and mutual aid societies that provided essential support. After emancipation, black Americans made significant strides in education, entrepreneurship, and community development.
It's absolutely facts. That's 100% facts.
However, these gains were often undermined by laws and social practices designed to limit black progress.
And that's true as well, which was disgusting.
The post-Reconstruction era saw a resurgence of segregation and disenfranchisement, effectively halting the economic progress of black families for decades.
And that was especially in the South, and especially from the Democrat Party, unfortunately, but that's true.
After World War II, white Americans were able to access opportunities for wealth accumulation through programs like the GI Bill, which provided education and home loans. Black Americans, however, were often excluded from these benefits.
Which is true, and I don't understand how that was able to fly whatsoever at all. They risked their lives the same as anyone else did.
Housing policies like redlining further cemented racial wealth.
That too is ridiculous as well.
Disparities, preventing black families from taking part in the post-war housing boom. These exclusions set black families back for generations. However, history also provides evidence of the resilience and adaptability of black Americans.
I agree with that too, 1,000%, because the facts show that.
1950s and 1960s, as African Americans began to push for civil rights, many black families were building their own businesses and homes. The achievements of individuals like Madam C.J. Walker, who became one of the first self-made female millionaires in the United States, or the entrepreneurs in the Tulsa, Oklahoma.
If you never looked into that woman, look into her. Her story is amazing.
The Black Wall Street community are proof that black economic success was not only possible, but happening,
absolutely,
even in the face of substantial discrimination. Thus, while historical factors undeniably impacted black economic outcomes,
they did.
The idea that the past eternally condemns black Americans to economic failure is a dangerous and misleading one.
Absolutely. You're giving people an out and letting them be a victim without even trying. Or when they face one failure, then they just want to give up and that's it, and again go to drowning in their own piss, which I don't understand that at all. Why would you not want to do the best you can do and not listen to anyone else around you? Just do your thing.
The future is shaped not just by what has happened, but by how individuals and communities respond to present challenges. The role of family. Perhaps the most significant
This is huge here.
factor influencing economic success is the structure of the family.
This is so true.
Stable two-parent households provide a critical foundation for children's emotional and economic well-being. Yet,
that's absolutely 100% factual.
Since the 1960s, there has been a dramatic shift in family structure in the black community.
Which is also true, and I don't understand that at all. Well, I kind of do, but I still don't, if that makes sense.
At the time of the Civil Rights Movement, the vast majority of black children were raised in two-parent households. However, by 2020, over 70% of black children were being raised in single-parent households.
That's just insane. What the fuck happened? That is just insanity. I don't understand that at all.
Often by mothers. This shift is not just a social issue, but an economic one. Single-parent households,
absolutely true,
regardless of race, are more likely to experience financial instability. Children raised in single-parent homes tend to perform worse academically, are more likely to engage in criminal activity,
absolutely true,
and are more likely to remain in poverty as adults.
Absolutely true.
This is not
Those are all factual statements that he just made.
A phenomenon unique to black America. Single-parent
True.
households across all racial lines
Very true.
tend to
Yeah, it doesn't matter for black. It's just single parent households in general. And it makes sense. Common sense would tell you that that makes sense. It's one income as opposed to two. It's two people being able to attend to the children instead of one.
face higher poverty rates than two-parent families. The rise of the welfare state in the 1960s, designed to support struggle,
Which was Lyndon B. Johnson pushed for because he wanted to keep black people voting Democrat and government reliant and stupid. And people bought into the bullshit. They still are buying into the bullshit today, and it's 2025.
families inadvertently created disincentives for marriage.
Exactly. That was a huge thing of it. Well, if you get married, you can't get welfare, you can't get all these benefits. So get rid of the man and we'll take care of you. The government will be your husband and your baby daddy. It's ridiculous. I don't know why anybody ever thought that was ever a good idea.
Welfare programs like AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, provided more assistance to mothers who were not married than to those who were. In effect,
Which makes no sense at all.
the presence of a father in the home was penalized.
Which makes no sense at all. You think that they would be supporting that.
This, coupled with the decline of certain cultural norms that valued marriage, has contributed to the breakdown of the
That's huge too. That's so huge.
family structure in black communities. The consequences of this breakdown are far-reaching. A two-parent household provides not just financial stability, but a model for children to learn the importance of hard work, responsibility, and self-discipline. Marriage serves as an economic institution. It enables families to pool resources and manage household finances effectively. The absence of a father
He's absolutely right.
figure, particularly in low-income households, leaves children without role models and support
That too, especially boys. Boys need a dad, but girls do as well.
systems necessary for success. To reverse this trend, policies must focus on encouraging family stability. This can be achieved through economic incentives that support marriage, educational
Yes.
programs that emphasize the importance of two-parent households,
But they don't want that. They want you government reliant.
and community outreach to provide the resources necessary for fathers to be present and involved in their children's lives. Education, the great equalizer. Education is often
Education's huge too.
heralded as the great equalizer, but only when it is pursued with discipline and seriousness. The educational system, while providing access to learning, does not guarantee success without the active involvement of students, families, and communities.
It's absolutely true.
A solid education can indeed provide a pathway to upward mobility, but only if students are prepared to seize the opportunity. In many low-income and predominantly black neighborhoods, public schools are failing their
They are, and that's another reason why Democrats are so against school choice. They want to keep everyone stupid, so they're government reliant.
students. Despite receiving higher levels of funding than their counterparts in other areas, these schools often have lower graduation rates,
Yep.
lower
It's absolutely true. Go look at the statistics.
academic performance, and fewer resources.
And it's not just black areas, it's poor areas in general. Look at West Virginia.
The issue is not just funding, but the poor management
Exactly. We spend the most per capita per student, and we get the worst results. Why is that? It's not funding or spending at all.
of resources, lack of accountability, and a lack of
Again, lack of accountability is huge, and lack of discipline as well, and structure. They let kids do whatever they want nowadays in school, and then they justify it for some reason, which makes no sense at all. There's no accountability, none whatsoever.
discipline and structure in the schools themselves. In these environments, children often graduate without the necessary skills to succeed in the workforce or pursue higher
Just to be able to make it in everyday life.
education. A significant part of the problem is the absence of a culture of academic
Yep, exactly. That's so true.
excellence. In many immigrant communities, education is seen as the key to success,
It absolutely is.
and parents go to great lengths
Why do you think Asian people are so successful? Education is a huge part of their culture, and they push education.
to ensure that their children perform well in school. This emphasis on education is something that can be nurtured in black communities as well. One solution to this problem is the expansion of school choice.
Exactly. Another thing the Democrats are against, because then that would create competition to raise the level of education and raise the competency that these children are showing. So it would put pressure on the lower performing schools to step up or lose funding and just end up having to shut down, which I'm all for. Competition makes everything better.
Charter schools, vouchers, and private school options have shown to be particularly effective in helping children escape failing public schools.
Absolutely, and that's why they're so against it. By them, I mean the Democrat Party. That's why they're so against this. Even Kamala Harris shut the fuck up about school choice after the 2019 debates. That just completely disappeared when she was a huge advocate for school choice. Suddenly, she completely forgot about that whatsoever and just clammed up.
Provide families with alternatives that can better meet their children's needs. The opposition to school choice, often from teachers' unions and bureaucrats.
Teachers' unions, too, they also need to get rid of tenure and start paying teachers based on performance, not on tenure. Ridiculous.
More interested in preserving their own power than improving the lives of.
And that's all it's about, is the power, as we saw during COVID. The teachers' unions were dictating everything. These kids got so put back so far because they didn't give a shit about actually teaching them. They wanted to wield their power and do whatever they wanted to do. And look at all the funding that they got for all this extra COVID shit. Then where did that go? Nobody knows. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody asks questions about it. It's just gone. And meanwhile, our kids are 2-3 years behind in learning, and nobody gives a shit.
Children must be.
People are still complaining teachers don't get paid enough money, which is ridiculous.
Overcome. Education reform is essential for closing the wealth gap between black and white Americans.
That's just in education in general, and closing any wealth gaps.
Work ethic, responsibility, and economic success. Another crucial factor
huge
in economic success is the culture of work and personal responsibility. Employers hire individuals based on their skills, reliability, and work ethic, not their race.
Exactly. And that's another reason why they wanted to push DEI so much, because they wanted people hired based on race and if they had a vagina or a penis, rather than their actual skill set and their performance, which is honestly disgusting. Like, why do we have laws in place to where you can't hire based on that, but then you're trying to implement a program where you are hiring based on that? It's completely counterproductive and just stupid.
Unfortunately, in too many black communities, there is a pervasive attitude that systemic racism is the primary reason for economic stagnation.
And that's completely untrue. White people don't give a fuck what you're doing. They're too busy doing their own shit to try to hold somebody else down. That's ridiculous. I would want the best people. I don't care what color you are. If you're the best at the job, I want you. Simple as that. Why would you not? Anybody with half a brain would say the same thing.
Which leads to a culture of dependency rather than self-reliance. This mentality discourages hard work, entrepreneurship.
Everything he's about to say is absolutely true. I've heard this before. This is 1,000% factual.
Entrepreneurial initiative and personal responsibility. The culture of victimhood that has been promoted by some political leaders and activists places blame on external forces.
Exactly. Blame everything else. Take zero accountability for anything that you've ever done in your life.
Rather than encouraging individuals to take.
It's like a murderer saying, well, if they wouldn't have put me in jail, I'd be doing fine. Well, no shit, but asshole, but you chose to kill somebody. That's why you're there. Oh, that doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
Control of their own destinies. In contrast, immigrant communities have repeatedly demonstrated that hard work, adaptability, and perseverance can overcome even the most formidable obstacles. Yeah, and this is the thing no one can ever explain when you bring up why African immigrants do better than American-born black people. No one can explain that because racism doesn't seem to be holding them down. So what is it exactly? Because it's not racism, because otherwise they'd be failing too. And if it was our system was so entrenched with systemic racism, why would they even want to come to this country in the first place? Someone please explain that to me in the comments. Chinese and Jewish immigrants in the early 20th century faced severe discrimination, yet
Yes.
They built thriving businesses and communities based on the values of hard work and education.
So weird.
The same principles can apply to Black Americans and must be more actively cultivated to reverse economic disparities. A culture that values...
I mean, come on, the Jews went through the Holocaust. Nobody else has been through it. I mean, maybe back in time, but in the recent times, no one's been through worse than this. I'm sorry. You can argue it, debate it, whatever, but in my opinion, there's nothing worse than the Holocaust that happened to a group of people.
Values self-reliance, hard work, and personal responsibility is a culture that will see greater success economically.
Facts.
Efforts must be made to reframe the narrative in Black communities, emphasizing individual agency over external victimhood.
That's in every community, though, because the victimhood's being pushed everywhere, and it's just, honestly, it's fucking disgusting. It is disgusting to me.
Systemic barriers, real but overstated. While it is impossible to deny the existence of systemic barriers, focusing exclusively on these external forces ignores the internal, cultural, and personal factors that are essential for success.
Absolutely correct. I love this. Dude, this guy has so much knowledge. It's insane.
Laws and policies have changed significantly over the years, and legal discrimination has been largely eradicated.
Exactly.
Today, Black Americans have access to the same opportunities as their white counterparts.
Absolutely. But everybody still wants to bring up the systemic racism shit, but they can't never point to where it's actually happening.
From business ownership to education to political representation.
Yep.
The key question is not whether opportunities exist, but whether Black Americans are taking full advantage of these opportunities.
That part right there.
The persistence of wealth gaps.
And not just Black, all people. Most people don't take advantage of the opportunities they have. They just rather complain about the ones they don't have because they don't want to actually fucking work for anything. They want everything handed to them. They want to have Elon Musk's lifestyle while having some fat-ass 20-year-old living in his mom's basement playing Xbox for 10 hours a day is lifestyle. You're not going to be able to do that. I'm sorry. It's just not going to fucking happen. You got to get off your ass and make shit happen for yourself because nobody else cares because they're too busy worrying about themselves.
Between Black and white families is often attributed to the legacy of racism. But wealth is not simply inherited. It is created through savings, investment, and entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Black Americans
put your money to work for you, don't work for your money.
Americans who embrace the principles of delayed gratification, financial literacy, and disciplined saving.
That's huge. Delayed gratification is huge, and so is financial literacy, and discipline is big in every aspect of life.
Can overcome the legacy of poverty
Yep.
and begin to accumulate wealth.
Absolutely.
The wealth gap is not a reflection of inescapable inequality. Rather, it is a result of different choices and behaviors.
1000% correct.
To close the gap, Black families must be encouraged to adopt habits that foster wealth creation, prioritizing education, saving and investing, and building businesses that can generate long-term financial returns.
There you go.
Path forward. There are no quick fixes.
He's absolutely 100% correct on everything he's saying in here. I couldn't agree with him more.
To the complex problem of economic disparities. However, there are clear and actionable steps that can be taken to address these disparities.
Yep.
Strengthening families, policy that encourage two-parent households and discourage single-parent dependency must be a priority.
Absolutely. Why do you think the left fights it so much? They want these people government dependent so they can control them because that's all they want is control.
Improve education, expand school choice, and reform the public education system.
Absolutely. Why do you think Trump's getting rid of the Department of Education?
To ensure all children have access to high-quality education.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's key right there. That is key. More people need to be fighting for that, and I don't know why they're not.
Foster a culture of work, encourage hard work,
Yep.
self-reliance, and entrepreneurship.
No one encourages hard work anymore. Everybody wants everything for nothing. Again, they want Musk's lifestyle while laying on their ass.
In Black communities. Promote financial literacy.
Not even Musk's lifestyle, excuse me. They want Musk's financial life. They want his bank account, but don't want to do the work that he's done to get to where he is.
Teach practical skills in money.
They'd rather blame him for them not being able to do anything with their lives, like he's sitting around trying to fucking keep other people down. He doesn't know who you are and he doesn't care about you, so get over yourself.
Management, saving, investing, and entrepreneurship. The solutions to these issues lie not just in changing external policies, but in cultivating a culture of responsibility, perseverance, and empowerment. Economic success is possible for anyone, regardless of background,
Exactly, as we see by society.
as long as they embrace the principles of discipline, hard work,
Yep.
and personal responsibility.
That's the key to life there. Discipline, hard work, and personal responsibility. Without those, you're going to be absolutely nothing but a homeless person begging for fucking change on the side of the road.
Moreover, it is crucial to recognize the importance of community and social networks in promoting economic mobility.
And that's huge too. Networking with other people with your same vision to get moving in the same direction.
Strong social connections can provide access to valuable resources.
Absolutely.
Such as
He's absolutely 1,000% correct.
job opportunities, mentorship, and financial support. In addition, addressing the issue of economic disparities requires a nuanced understanding of the complex interplay between historical, cultural, and economic factors. It is essential to acknowledge the ongoing impact of historical injustices, such as slavery and segregation, on the economic outcomes of Black Americans. At the same time, it is equally important to recognize the agency and resilience of Black Americans who have consistently demonstrated their ability to adapt, innovate, and thrive
Absolutely.
in the face of adversity. Ultimately, closing the economic gap between Black and white Americans will require a multifaceted approach that addresses the complex array of factors that contribute to these disparities. By promoting education, family stability, and economic empowerment, we can create a more equitable society where everyone has the opportunity to succeed.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I agree with everything he said. Everything in there is spot on accurate. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. Give me a follow on X at MiddleGuy7, and I'll see everybody soon. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.